We have survived the apocalypse. We're still here.
And we're not blind.
No, my tinfoil hat kept me safe from all the conspiracies out there. And I didn't look up into the sun, so
That was wise.
Still see, although at 43, almost 44, my eyes are not working as well as they used to.
I agree. I honestly didn't even remember the eclipse when it was happening. I was busy doing other things. And then later that evening, I saw people posting their pictures of the eclipse. And I was like, oh, is that today? And I didn't even notice that it was a little more cloudy at that point. It was darker. I didn't even notice at all. I was completely oblivious.
I asked people to share on social media their eclipse pictures with us. We were not in the path of totality. I think it was about 60% here. So people sent in pictures from all over the country, and it was pretty interesting to see some of their perspectives and people just out enjoying the day. And it's just a great reminder that we have a wonderful creator.
Yes.
That things didn't just happen. Like they can plan these out, years ahead. I think 2045, it's supposed to come right near here, the totality path. So they can plan all this stuff out. And it just shows to me the handiwork of our God, that he is the creator. And I hope that you spent some time enjoying the pictures, maybe getting together. People had eclipse parties and all kinds of stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's just a great way to enjoy what God has created for us and to be in awe in him. The scripture tells us that the heavens declare the glory of God. And so we were reminded of that glory this week. And looking forward to 21 years from now.
Yeah,
being
can't wait.
in the path of totality. So I'll definitely have to get some eclipse glasses by then.
Mm-hmm. Somebody posted who listened to Total Eclipse of the Heart today on Monday night.
I thought about it a lot, actually.
Darn, my missed opportunity. Because I really like that song.
I didn't listen to it, but I sang it in my head a lot.
Did you? Why didn't you sing it to me?
Because you weren't around.
I don't even know what that song is about.
It's a total eclipse of your heart.
What does that mean? I don't know. I'm not really poetic. Thomas is the poetic one. Oh.
Great way to start the episode.
Sorry, guys. I hope that wasn't super loud.
It was. It was loud here, so it's definitely loud here.
My bad.
Yeah, so.
Okay. I think I'm good. Let's hope that's it for me.
Okay. Are you ready?
Let's do this.
I'm going to be talking about being approachable today, which I've been told is not my strong suit. So, we'll see how this goes. I would like you to approach me with your thoughts on the episode. Okay?
I like it.
All right.
I like what you did there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gather round, everybody. It's time for a family meeting. The family meeting is a show that's all about family relationships. There's our neighbor, David, and he's got Obi out in the yard, his doggy. They live right behind us. So
it's kind of fun. I think he heard you say his name, I swear. As soon as you said Obi, he looked at us.
Yeah.
In the window.
He's looking for coconut, probably.
Yeah, he's so cute.
Sorry, I got distracted.
So our camera, for those of you who don't know, I know we're trying to start. Our camera is right in front of our big window that shows us our whole backyard. So most of the time during the podcast, I'm watching squirrels and birds and Obi. So it's actually very nice. I love it.
But we're the Osterkamps. I'm Thomas. This is my wife, Lysandra.
Hello and welcome to our family. Welcome to episode 185 of the Family Meeting Podcast. On today's episode, we're going to talk about being approachable as a parent.
Oh boy.
Yeah, we want our kids to talk to us about what they're going through. We want them to allow us to help guide them through situations, no matter their age. And I mean, maybe we have some parents out there who have toddlers, babies, elementary school, and you feel like this is not for me. No. This is a podcast for you. Even younger elementary school age children may have questions about friendships and situations that come up. And even in the toddler stage, you can begin to create a relationship with your child that shows I'm an approachable parent. You can come to me with anything. If you have adult children, that's a whole different stage.
We have an adult child now.
Yeah, I guess.
Well,
Yeah, we
kind
do.
of.
I mean, she's about to graduate. She is 18. She's been 18 for a little while.
She's out driving by herself now.
Yeah,
which
she's out
is
driving
weird.
herself to and from work, and it's like, bye. It's just so weird.
I'm not yet used to that yet.
No, it's a whole new season for us. But even with adult children, I mean, we want them to feel like we're approachable. We want them to feel like they can come to us with whatever's happening in their life, and every age in between, toddler to adult children. So this is a podcast for parents with children of all ages.
Yeah.
And if you don't have children, maybe you are a couple who listens to this podcast for marriage tips and kind of marriage maintenance, as we like to call it. We want to be approachable to other people in our lives.
To your spouse, to your coworkers, to neighbors and friends.
Right. Making an influence. We can't really be influential. I should say we can't be as influential if we're not approachable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
But before we jump into the episode, listen, we are just, 10 days away or so.
Yay,
from
I can't wait.
Marriage conference in Byram, Mississippi, Heritage Church. And we're excited to be with James and his people there. And we're going to, the theme of what we're going to talk about is we need to talk. We need to talk. And those are words that we don't necessarily want to hear because we know, like, typically a difficult conversation is about to take place. Mm-hmm. But usually those conversations, when you have them and you have them correctly, they strengthen your relationship. They strengthen your marriage. And so they're important to have. And so we're going to cover a few different things. We're going to cover basic just learning how to communicate with each other. This was a lesson that I really needed coming into our marriage, was learning how to communicate with Lysandra, to share my thoughts and my feelings and my perspective. And so that's one of the things we're going to cover. We're also going to be, we need to talk about sex. And so dealing with communication when it comes to our physical relationship. And then we need to talk about conflict resolution. Hey, we're going to have fights. We're going to have arguments. We're going to have disagreements. And it's important that we learn how to disagree correctly, how we learn how to fight fair, but then also bring that around to a resolution. And so if you are anywhere or can be anywhere near Byram, Mississippi in just 10 days, we want to encourage you to come be a part of Heritage's marriage conference. For more information, you can go to hbcbyram.com/marriage-conference and have all the information. You can register there. And Byram, by the way, is spelled BYRAM. So that's hbcbyram.com/marriage-conference.
All right.
And that's April 19th and 20th. So just a few days away now.
We literally can't wait. We're kind of starting to get in the zone already where we discuss our sessions and we talk about things. And it always is such an exciting time for us.
Yeah, most definitely.
We genuinely love it. So we can't wait to be there. All right, let's get on with our discussion for today. What makes a person approachable? What makes a person unapproachable? Have you ever thought someone was unapproachable? Babe, how about you? Let me let you answer this question. Have you ever thought that person is unapproachable?
Oh, yeah. There's been a lot of people where I felt that, where you can just tell, like, they don't want to hear from me. They don't want to talk to me. They're not open to suggestions, thoughts, communication, or ideas.
Right. And typically, if that is the case, do you talk to them anymore?
Not really.
Me neither.
I'm polite. I'm cordial, but I'm not going to just go up and have conversations with them.
Right.
I've had bosses at work like that, where it's just like, if I can avoid this person and not talk to them, I will, because they don't want to see me. They don't want to talk to me. The only time they ever come to talk to me is when they need me for something.
Mm-hmm. Right. And maybe someone has told you that. Maybe you're the person who has been told you're unapproachable. Is that the way you are? Or can you change this perception that people have of you? Can we change if we are unapproachable? And we especially want to try to change our child's perception of our approachability. So if we can change this, how do we do it? So these are kind of some of the questions that we're going to talk about today. We want to make some progress in this discussion, and hopefully all of us improve in this area.
Well, and we want to take some time to evaluate, because some of us were just clueless to the way that people perceive us.
Yes.
Like, we think people are perceiving us one way when in reality they're perceiving us another way. And we're going to get into me personally, because I always feel like I'm approachable. I'm happy to have a conversation with anybody. I'm open to thoughts, suggestions, critiques, and all of that. But the feedback that I often get is that I am unapproachable. They feel like I'm unapproachable. So sometimes we need that outside feedback to help us to be able to evaluate ourselves in this area, because it really doesn't matter if you're open to people's thoughts and suggestions and ideas if you're putting off an aura of unapproachability.
Right.
So here's some questions that we're going to try to answer for you on today's episode. Going to share my personal experience with this subject. I'm talk about having the perception that I am unapproachable. It's been said of me that I am intense, and I can be intense in certain situations for sure.
I've heard people say that you're scary.
Yeah.
Which is so funny because, I mean, you can be scary.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Everybody
I agree with that.
Everybody can be scary, but like, I am not scared of you at all. Our kids are not scared of you. Like, it's just funny that, but that is the vibe you give off.
They're not scared of me unless they wake me up.
Yeah, they don't do
And
that.
then they're a little cautious.
I don't wake them up either.
But people have shared that they were afraid to talk to me. Mm-hmm. So I want to be approachable, and I want people, especially my children, to feel comfortable talking to me about any topic.
Mm-hmm. Right. So the question that we're going to start with today is, what makes a person appear to be unapproachable? Because maybe you're like, no, I'm not unapproachable. But do you appear to be unapproachable? So that's what we're going to really deal with to start with. Here's some things to kind of be aware of, right? So all of us, whether you think you're approachable or not, all of us should be going through these things and self-evaluating and being like, okay, maybe I do. Do I do that? And that kind of thing. Here's one thing. You have closed off body language. This is like, I was literally talking with my girls about this morning during our morning coffee time.
I'm sorry, just a second. I can't hear body language without thinking of Ursula from Little Mermaid when she's like,
yes.
Body language.
That's right.
Totally got distracted there when you said that.
What does she say? Let's not forget the power of body language. What does she say?
No, I think she says something. It's been so long since I've seen it, but I think she says something along the lines of the most powerful or most important language is body language.
And then she's like, body language with all her tentacles.
Yeah.
That is hilarious. Okay. So you've ruined this discussion for me now.
Yep. So you have to say body language like that from now on.
Body language.
Please don't.
I lost it. I can't. Okay. So body language. I was just telling one of my daughters, it's not that you're mean to people. It's not that you're unkind, but you give off a vibe that you really don't want people to talk to you with your body language. I was literally talking about that this morning. But here's a question for you to kind of answer for yourself. How do you typically sit or stand? Arms crossed? You guys who are listening online and not watching on YouTube, Thomas is literally sitting with his arms crossed now.
It's the most comfortable way to sit.
Yeah, you look angry, dude.
Yeah.
No, you don't. You don't really look angry right now. Not to me. But the arms crossed thing does communicate closed off.
Yes,
it can. It can.
Well, and I think one of the things that you have people who have been telling other people that if arms are crossed, that means you're closed off. Mm-hmm. So that's become like something that people think about now because someone has told them that's what it means.
But a lot of times when people get mad, they do cross their arms.
Yeah.
Naturally.
But
so
it's
that
also
can
just a very comfortable way to sit.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things you talk about sitting or standing, because I've read books and different things about body language and the way people perceive you. So when you're talking to someone, you're supposed to sit. If your legs are crossed, you cross them towards the person.
Yep.
Like supposedly that means that you are open to what they're saying. You're interested.
Engaged.
Yeah. And if you cross your legs away from them, that means you're kind of shut off and not wanting to listen to what they have to say. So I do think about things like that
Good.
when I'm having conversations with people.
Here's another. Not just when you're standing, but when you're sitting. Are you sitting leaning towards the person, or are you laid back away from them? Now, it's good for us to be comfortable in conversations, and I get that. But a lot of times when a person lays back, like leans back on a couch or even leans back in their chair, it looks like they are disengaging from the conversation. But when you sit like more towards people on the edge of your seat, it's like you are in it. Like you are interested and you're excited about what they're going to say. So sitting or standing can communicate without saying a word. Another thing that you can do to kind of seem unapproachable is not having eye contact with the person when they're talking to you.
Yeah.
Now, you've shared your struggles with eye contact.
Yeah, because I think about how long I'm, and part of the thing that happened, I think about how long I look somebody in the eye. And so there's times where I'm thinking about eye contact instead of listening to what they're actually saying.
You're like, look them in the eye, look them in the eye, look them in the eye. What'd they say?
I'm like, look approachable, look them in the eye. Don't look too long because that's freaking weird. Like, look away for 2 seconds and then look back. I can literally have these thoughts away in my head.
I just am so sorry that it is so much work for you to have conversations with people. Because when I have conversations with people, I'm like, woohoo, this is great. And nothing is happening in my head.
But I genuinely work hard at it.
I know you do.
And here's the thing. We're talking about sitting and standing and some of these sort of things. And it seems like, well, why even talk about that? Well, because whether you're disengaged or not, people will get a perception that you are.
Yes.
And so that's what we're talking about. You may not be unapproachable, but you're giving off this aura by the way that you sit and stand and
That's
interact
right.
or don't look at somebody.
Exactly. Or how about this one? When someone's talking to you, you are always looking away, which I know that I do this, and I know that people sense when I'm starting to disengage from a conversation. There are times, like church is a really busy day for me, and a lot of people want to talk to me. I have a lot of people I want to make sure that I welcome and all of that kind of thing. And so if I get in a really long conversation, I will sometimes see somebody else come in the room and I'm like, oh, don't forget, you need to make sure that you talk to them and check on their grandma and how their grandma's doing. Like some prayer request, something that's happening in their life where I'm like, oh, don't forget to talk to them. And my eyes will like look at that person and look back to the one who's talking to me. And I can see in that person's eyes, they're like, oh, she's got to move on. Yeah. And I think, oh, I hope that I didn't make them feel like I'm done with them or like I'm not interested in what they're saying.
I'm done with you.
Yeah. And so that's something that I do think about is like, I don't want people to feel like
move along, little doggy.
No, I don't want people to have that feeling. So looking away during conversations, or this one is so tough for us in this day and age, always looking at your phone during a conversation.
Most of us are so addicted to our phone. We've been trained that when it dings or it vibrates or whatever else, we've got to look at it. And we just lose our minds if we can't look at it right away.
So we try to, both of us, keep our phones on silent basically all the time.
Yeah.
And when I have a conversation with somebody, I flip my phone upside down so that I don't see it light up when notifications come up. The exception here is that if I'm in a conversation with somebody and I'm watching for my kids to like come home or whatever, and then I will watch to see if the kids need anything. But other than that, like if it's with my children, we turn our phones upside down, try to not have them in arm's reach.
Yeah. So that we're not tempted to be distracted by it. But
if you are always looking at your phone when you're having a conversation with someone, you are telling them you're unapproachable.
Right. Whatever is happening in your phone is more interesting and more important than whoever it is you're talking to and what they're talking about, including your kids.
Right.
So your kids will understand if the phone and everybody else in the world is more important than they are.
Yeah. And then that's training them not to talk to you. How about this one? You wear headphones often.
Yeah.
Man, your kids are definitely going to get that message. Like, I'm not trying to talk to you. I tell my kids.
I feel like my kids give me this message more often than not now.
That's what I'm saying. For real.
Of course, I did the same thing when I was a teenager. Only instead of having little AirPods, like I had the giant earmuffs.
With a cord.
That's what was cool, was the giant earmuffs that covered half of your head.
Yeah. You looked like Princess Leia.
Yeah.
Yeah, so our kids like to put their headphones in here and there. Like when we clean the Airbnb together, and sometimes all 5 of us clean at the same time. We're doing different jobs. So, or if they paint for me, my rule is 1 earbud in, 1 earbud out, because they'll be in the next room and I'm like, hey, did you clean this? Or did you remember to paint this? And they don't hear me. And I'm so annoyed because I'll have to get off a ladder to come talk to them or whatever. So I'm like, 1 earbud in only. That's my rule. But yeah, what are you communicating with your headphones? How often do you wear them?
They definitely do it in the car too. Mm-hmm. So they're and this is what it annoys me.
Yes.
Like we're in the car as a family listening to music, and they're and it's music they like.
Yeah, it's not like hillbilly music that they would hate. We're not listening.
But not most of the time. Some of the love songs and whatever that I play, they don't care for. Yeah. But then they're back there in their own little world. You go to ask them a question, and it's like no response.
Yeah. Yeah. So sometimes we have to be like, no headphones. But anyway, sometimes we need to say no headphones to us ourselves as parents, right?
Yeah. So that's something to think about, appearing unapproachable, but with our body language. And here, I think this is something that I struggle with here.
Your face is saying, I think I'm guilty of this.
And that is, you look like you're in a bad mood.
Thomas, every day.
Every day. And that's just like that's my resting face. We all know what the resting face is. I'm not going to say it on the podcast.
Thank you.
But okay? And I'm like, that's just, I'm not angry. I'm not angry. Yeah. I just don't smile 24/7 like some people.
Sorry, I don't know.
But the truth is, it's not necessarily that you are in a bad mood.
Right.
But if you look like that and give off that vibe, you might as well be in a bad mood.
Yeah.
As far as people are concerned, because they're not like, oh, he's upset about something. I'm not going to go talk to him right now. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to approach them. And so, thinking about, all right, literally, what is my face telling people?
Yeah.
What is my face telling my kids when they walk into the room? Mm-hmm. Does my face light up and let them know I'm glad that you're here? I'm glad to see you. I want to talk to you. Or is my face saying, stay back, stay away?
Yeah, right. And I remember telling the girls, I would say, like, we'd be in a crowd or whatever, and I would like pull them aside and be like, why are you so mad? What happened? Are you upset? And they'd be like, no. And I'm like, okay, tell your face.
Yeah, because you look angry.
You look so mad right now. If you're not mad, tell your face.
Yeah, I had it right before Easter. Our church does a extravaganza thing with our community. And so we set up a couple of our pop-up tents and everything. And we had games or giving out tons of stuff, Easter eggs and all kinds of stuff. And it's a family event with little children and everything. And all 6 of us were there, and some other volunteers from our church. And I remember looking over at one of our daughters, and it was just like, she looked so angry. And so, just have to walk over. And she's not.
She's not. We know her. She's not angry.
She's not angry. And so I walked over and I was like, hey, just smile. Like let people know you're happy to see them. Happy because I know she is happy to see them come, and she wants them to have a good time. And so it's just, she gets that from me, probably, where it's like, okay, we have to remind ourselves to put on our face what we're feeling inside. And so that's more difficult for some of us. Mm-hmm. And it makes a big impact. You're like, well, what does it matter? Like, it matters because if you look like you're angry, people will think you're angry and they're not going to approach you.
Right.
So think about when your kids come to you, when they do talk to you and you don't make eye contact. And we talked about eye contact here a little bit, but that leads to your children believing that you're not listening or that they're not important. He doesn't want to talk to me. She doesn't want to talk to me. Mm-hmm. And so thinking about what you're saying with your face, with your body, with your eyes, it often says a lot more than our words do. Because I can tell people, hey, I want you to talk to me. I want you to come to me. I want you to approach me. I want to hear your ideas. I want to hear your critiques. But if I'm saying that with just my mouth, but everything else is telling them, no, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to see you. I don't want to hear you. That's the message they're going to receive. They're not going to hear the words. They're going to hear what it is that the rest of us is telling them.
Right. Okay, so if they do come to you and you are talking to them, you are having a conversation, this is another way to seem unapproachable, is you give super short answers. Yep. Nope.
Okay.
Uh-huh. Nope. Yep. Just short answers. So you're not engaging in the conversation. You're not bringing something back and responding. Okay.
And showing that you're actually listening.
Exactly. You kind of can give off this aura that you are emotionally unavailable too. Like, I'm not going to really dive into this conversation. I'm just giving you yes or no's. I'm not really engaged. I'm emotionally unavailable. You can also, if you are insensitive to what they're saying and you don't respond with proper emotion when something is shared, they get this: you're emotionally unavailable. You're insensitive. They're not going to want to talk to you again. You will become unapproachable. So think about your emotional presence when your children come and talk to you. And I'm talking about when they're little, when they're older, whatever. I picture, and I don't know if this was a movie or what, but I do have kind of a visual mind. I just picture like a dad sitting on the couch eating popcorn, watching a show in like kind of a darker room, and a toddler or a young like 3-4-year-old comes in and is like, "Daddy, daddy, da 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 da," and he's just eating popcorn. Is like, kind of in a zombie mode.
Well, what's he watching?
I don't know.
Is it like sports or something?
Why? Does it matter?
It might.
Oh, Thomas.
Like, what's on? Is Caitlin Clark playing in the championship game? Like, what's happening?
Oh, Thomas. You have such a long way to go. We're trying to help him.
We're saying, we need some perspective. We need...
I don't even know. This is just a picture that I have in my head when I think about a parent like not being emotionally available for their child and not engaging in conversation when they come.
So I know the way that your mind works visually.
Yes.
Who are you picturing?
I'm kind of picturing like an older, bald, chubby guy, like your typical couch potato.
Literally me.
Oh, stop
Is that
it.
what you're saying?
No, I'm not picturing you.
Uh-huh.
Look at me. I'm not picturing you.
You're lying.
He knows when I lie.
When you're
I'm
like
not lying.
older, bald, chubby, I'm like, check.
Older than you. Older than you. Chubbier than you. Balder than you.
So me like 2 years from now?
Yes.
Wow.
Sorry, babe. Okay. But yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like emotionally unavailable. And then this is the other thing, the insensitivity thing. Not responding with proper emotion when something is shared. Like if somebody shares with you, if your child shares with you something that for them is a huge deal, you know, what might be a huge deal to a child or a teenager or whatever. Somebody took their toy, they lost a toy as a child. Somebody wasn't nice to them. Somebody hurt their feelings. Getting older, some boy didn't text them back. Like whatever, all of those things to us adults can be like, who cares? Get over it.
Yeah.
But if your child comes to you with a thing that is so important to them and you respond without emotion and without sensitivity, then they're not going to come to you when the next thing happens. You have to respond with a proper emotional response.
Yeah.
Okay. So also not going overboard the other way either, right? Like what's an appropriate emotional response to how they're feeling and to what's going on in their life. Think about that because that can make you approachable or unapproachable.
Well, and some of us were more emotionally available to our pets than we are to our kids. Because I think about, and I'm just being real with you, every time I come home and Coconut comes running up to me, like emotionally, I'm excited. I let my dog know I am happy to see my dog.
What does that sound like?
It sounds very high pitched.
No. We don't understand. Explain to us. Like, give us an example.
It's very high pitched.
What's it sound like?
It sounds like very high pitched.
Do it.
I'm not going to do that into the microphone. People will shut the podcast off.
It's really funny though.
It's very high pitched and excited.
Mm-hmm. A little bit of baby talk.
And maybe a little bit. because he's my little boy. But there's like, listen, I'm just being open. There's times I don't even notice the kids are sitting in here on the couch.
You're a terrible father.
Now, listen, to be fair, the dog runs up to me happily.
Yes.
And if my kids did that, it would be a little different story.
You would match their response immediately.
When they were small, they used to. Now I'm just
Yeah.
like that guy who lives in the house with them.
Yeah.
No, but you see what I'm saying? Like,
I do understand what you're saying.
We can,
it's a good point.
We can, without even realizing it, let our kids know, like, I care more about the pet and what the pet's doing than what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. So even in little things like that, it's something to pay attention to. What about this? You act nervous and uncomfortable when they're talking to you.
That's always a fun conversation. Oh yeah, I want to go back to that person. They seemed so uncomfortable when I was talking to them.
And for some of you, that's going to be hard. Like, you know, for some moms, when their son is talking to them about certain issues, you might get nervous or uncomfortable. I think that's probably less likely because moms are just like, my son is talking to me.
Exactly.
Like, be cool.
Excited.
Like, you're going the other way, right? You're going the other way.
Yeah.
Too far the other way. You're
Too
just going to shut down. But I think sometimes for girl dads, you know, when they start talking about certain things, we can maybe be nervous or uncomfortable. This has never been really an issue with me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not nervous or uncomfortable if my girls talk to me about what's going on in their life or those sorts of things. I know husbands like who don't even want to know when their wife is, you know, having a period. Mm-hmm. Never mind their daughters or something.
This is the guy who will go and buy the feminine products at the grocery store and not be embarrassed or try to hide it under like something else.
Like there's times it's literally the only thing I'm going to the store for, and I do not care.
You're a hero.
It's like I don't shine in certain areas, but this is one area where I shine.
He will buy those feminine products.
Because if you act nervous and uncomfortable, you're making it uncomfortable for your kids. Mm-hmm. And hey, we all do it, right? We all try to avoid the uncomfortable situations, the uncomfortable conversations. And so one of the things that we want to do to be approachable is to make the situation as comfortable as possible. Mm-hmm. I want you to know that when you come talk to me, it's going to be comfortable. I'm not going to make it weird. I'm not going to make it uncomfortable for you. That, hey, this is going to be something, you know, that we're gonna enjoy conversing and sharing with each other. Mm-hmm. And then just being too busy. Yeah,
this is my problem.
This is kind of an area where you can have a difficult time. Mm-hmm. And that basically implying that everything else is more important than listening to you. We talked about that with your phone, but mm-hmm. There's a lot of other things that can include as well.
Mm-hmm. It could be work. You know, maybe more so for a man, it could be work. For a woman, a lot of times, I know for me, even though, yes, I do work, a lot of times it's just like there's so much to do around the house and just to try to keep things up and whatnot.
Yeah. Or just talking about how busy you are all the time, how tired you are. That can put off saying, hey, you know, they're too busy for me. Mm-hmm. Mom's too busy for me. Dad is too busy with me. He's got too much going on at work, too much stress, too much whatever. And it's so they interpret that as don't put one more thing on my plate, you know, take care of it yourself. Mm-hmm. When for kids, like, no, they need somebody. They need you as their parent there to help them through these mm-hmm. situations. Mm-hmm. And like Lysandra said, for us, a lot of what they go through is really not a big deal. But for them, like, this is the most difficult thing they've ever faced in their life.
Right.
You know, they just got destroyed by their first crush. Like, for us, that's not a big deal. But for them, that's literally their entire world. So mm-hmm. if we are constantly talking about how busy we are, how tired we are, then, well, I don't want to put one more thing on their plate. So mm-hmm. make sure that you let them know I've got time for you.
Mm-hmm. And one thing to really think about, because I think a lot of times when we talk about this, what we think is, how do I seem engaged and approachable for really heavy, important conversations? The way that you do that is by seeming engaged and interested in light conversations.
Yeah.
When you have open communication, whether it's deep conversations or casual conversations, you're sending the message. So don't zone out the second the conversation turns away from you or a topic you're interested in. We know people like this.
Oh, yeah.
Where like
Totally.
they will engage and talk to you, but the second that you're not talking about their hobby or the thing that is interesting to them or them themselves, they are done. Like they're not listening anymore. They don't care. And so you learn, okay, when I talk to this person, I'm only going to talk about them and I'm only going to talk about the stuff they're interested in. And that's okay. But I'm not going to go to them with my problems. I'm not going to go to them with a prayer request because they're not interested in what's happening in my life. And we can send out that message. So think about that in terms of your children. When your children talk to you, are you only interested if they are talking about, you know, the sports team you like to talk about? Are you only interested if they're talking about the TV shows or whatever that you like to talk about? Are you only interested if they, you know, maybe as like little ones, it's so hard to be interested sometimes because they want to talk about
Bluey.
Bluey and their little friends and whatever. And you're just like, oh, if I have to hear one more thing about Bluey.
Yeah.
But you know what? When we show engagement and excitement for the things that they care about, even if it's just casual conversation, that sends that message that you can talk to me about anything. And I will listen and I will care about what's going on in your life. So what do you care about? Do you care about other people? Do you care about what's happening in your child's life? At your heart, you do. But do you care about it enough to engage in conversation that's not about you?
Yeah. Like all the conversations we had to have about anime for a while.
Oh my goodness. That was a season. It pretty much totally passed.
They still have a few things that they watch here and there, but it's not like it was.
But it was all the time.
Oh yeah. I'm so glad that phase is over.
But we engaged and we made it through.
Yeah. We weren't as good of parents as like Bree and some of those people that we know that were like wearing the t-shirts and all that kind of stuff. So
that's pretty amazing.
Yeah. But along the lines of what you were just saying a second ago, you know, if you're self-focused and consumed by your own problems or by work, that's going to let people know you're unapproachable. Like not necessarily unapproachable, but I don't want to approach you.
Right.
Like, I don't want to talk to you. So it may not be, you know, it is in a way saying I'm unapproachable because I don't want to approach you.
Yeah.
You know, you have a way of turning everything into this is about me. And
that's tough.
None of us like to talk to people like that. Like conversations are like relationships. They should be give and take. So yes, having a conversation with somebody, you can plan to talk about them. You should, but they should also be planning to talk about you and what's going in your life and everything else. And so are you having that type of conversations with your kids where it's not just about what daddy is doing or likes or wants, but hey, what are you doing there? I spent some time last night. We had lead team meeting and then that goes till 8-ish or after. And then we come home and I make myself some supper. And so it's late. I am tired, but Isabella came down and I noticed earlier in the day she was doing some drawing on her iPad. She loves to draw on her iPad. And so I asked her about it. I was like, hey, did you finish that drawing you were working on earlier? And she's like, yeah. I was like, can I see it? Mm-hmm. And so she ran upstairs and got her iPad and showed me the drawing. And then the app that she uses can show a complete time lapse from the moment she starts to work on it until it's absolutely finished.
It's very
and so
cool.
She takes some time and shows me the time lapse and everything else. Was I tired? Yes, totally. Did I just want to eat, go to my room and veg out? Totally. You know, we all get to those points. Mm-hmm. But I want to make sure, you know, I'm not always good at this. I won last night. I don't win every night. I want to make sure my daughter knows I'm interested in what's going on in her life. It's not just about what dad has going on in his life and then he's had a busy day and meetings and work and all this stuff. I want them to know I'm concerned about what is going on in your life, even the things that seemingly aren't that important. No, it's important to her because it's a passion of hers. Mm-hmm. But that lets her know, all right, he's interested about this. He wants to hear about this. He cares about the important things also, the serious things. And so get those wins when you can.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We don't always win, but I got that win last night. So I thought somebody should know about it because I've had plenty of losses.
Yeah, that's great. Well, and it's funny because I think we've all been in conversations where a person has this ability to make whatever you're talking about them. Mm-hmm. Where they're just like masterful at it. They can just turn it. And all of a sudden you're like, this is literally my crisis. How did it all of a sudden become about you?
Yeah.
But we don't want to be that person, right? So something to think about. And parents can seem unapproachable to their children because of their own embarrassment and discomfort in discussing certain topics. And Thomas touched on this a minute ago, but like basically if your parents were embarrassed to talk about something, then probably you're embarrassed to talk about that too, unless you're actively working at it. And I'll share my own experience with this because this has literally played out in my life. My grandma was really uncomfortable to talk about anything menstrual related with my mom. In fact, my mom didn't know anything about it, and all of a sudden it happened, and she thought she was dying, and it was this terrible thing.
I can't imagine being a girl, not knowing anything about that, and then all of a sudden it happening. Like,
you would be so terrified.
The freak out you would have. Like, oh my gosh, I must be dying.
Yeah, because even if you know about it, it's a freak out. Like, ah! So yeah, it was just awful. And then and when she went to her mom, the only thing that happened was like she was given supplies and not spoken to. Like that was it. So my mom didn't want to be like that. She wanted to do better because of her experience. So she worked really hard to make sure that she talked to my sister and I about it before it happened. And so that we were ready to go. But then after that, it was like, we didn't really talk about it a whole lot because she did that because she knew that she wanted us to have a better experience. But at the same time, she was still uncomfortable.
So it was like a one-time conversation?
It was a one-time conversation. I'm sure that if I wanted to, I could probably have gone and talked, but I knew that it made her uncomfortable. And so I kind of felt uncomfortable at it. So it was like not talked about again. So I took that and tried to take it a step further with my kids and talk about it anytime they need to, not in public, but...
Right. Yeah, you don't want to embarrass them.
No, never embarrassing them. But just like it's an open conversation. Like, oh, how are you feeling? Oh, I'm sorry. Da da da. Like we just talk about it a lot, and that's just one example. But if we give off that vibe that we are uncomfortable and we don't have any desire to talk about the heavy stuff, then yeah, they're going to definitely get that message.
And some conversations are just naturally more embarrassing and uncomfortable. I mean, you're talking about menstrual cycle that can be very, I don't think it should be personally be an embarrassing thing that you have to worry about talking about. I understand for ladies and especially young girls how it can be. Sex is another one of those conversations where it's like you just don't talk about it. Mm-hmm. I don't remember ever having a conversation with either of my parents about it because it was just like, you just don't talk about it.
Yeah, like that doesn't even happen. That's not even a real thing.
Yeah. But, you know, here's what we try to do. And most parents do this, right? Most parents, they try to improve upon whatever, you know, their parents did. And so, you know, whereas grandma didn't want to talk about it at all, mom had a conversation at least, you know, gave you the information. So you at least knew like this was going to happen. You still feel like you're dying, but you at least know it's going to happen. And then we try to take it another step where it's like, okay, have ongoing conversations about this and make it something that is, it's okay to talk about this. It doesn't have to be weird.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what we want to do is we want to kind of just continue to improve in certain areas. So,
yeah. And we need to intentionally work on being approachable, staying close, having deep relationships and conversations, and utilizing the opportunity to guide our children as they meet new challenges. All of these are great reasons to be approachable for our children. but it's also to be more like Jesus. And I love how approachable Jesus was.
Yeah.
He just modeled it so beautifully for us. And in Matthew 19:14, it says, "But Jesus said, 'Let the children alone. Do not hinder them from coming to me.'" Even children were welcome to talk to Jesus, which in that culture was even a bigger deal than it is now.
Women could come to him.
That was unheard of.
He talked with the Samaritan woman, like, who she even was like,
Why are
you're
you
a
talking to
Jew
me?
and I'm a Samaritan woman. What are you talking to me for?
Where he just kind of blew people's mind with his approachability. And I love this. This is one thing that Jesus said in Matthew 11:28. "Come to me." He's literally saying, come, come, come. All who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Our Heavenly Father is also approachable, and let him be our example. Hebrews 4:16 says, "Let us then with confidence draw near to the throne of grace, that we may receive mercy and find grace to help in need." So this is essentially saying, come to God with confidence. Come to him. You are welcome.
Don't have to be afraid. You don't have to be timid or shy or worry about how he's going to be. Like, you can come with full confidence. That's the way I want my kids to be able to approach me.
Right. Exactly. And that's something that it might be a thing that you need to work on. So can we change how approachable someone thinks we are?
Totally.
Yeah, I agree.
And this is something I've been actively working on for many years myself. And so here are just a few ideas. First of all, ask questions. Ask questions. Let people know you're interested in them. And I do this with my kids. I'll ask them questions, and some of it and a lot of it really is not about anything in particular. It's just asking them questions, how their day was, like the drawing. Did you finish the drawing, and all those sorts of things. Some of it is serious questions. So like my oldest daughter, Catherine, she has started a cleaning business, and so she's going into strangers' houses to clean people's houses. And sometimes I'm the one who drops her off, and so I'll have conversations with her like, "Hey, how do you feel when you're in the house? Do you ever feel uncomfortable? Do you ever feel nervous?" And so I'm asking questions to let her know, "Hey, I'm approachable. If you ever need anything," and I let her know, "Hey, you ever need me to pick you up from anywhere, no matter how old you get, I'm here. Just dial my number. I'll drop everything. I'll come get you." But hey, asking those questions, whether it's something serious or whether it's not, you should be asking those questions. This shows your child you are interested. You genuinely care about their life. You show you care about what they care about. Okay, so not because it's your favorite thing, but because you are about them. And mentioned Bree and wearing the t-shirts a little while ago. I mean, that shows her daughter, listen, I care about you. I don't necessarily care about this anime, but you care about it, so I do care about it because I care about you.
Right. Okay, when they do talk, make that eye contact, put down the phone, turn off the TV, think about your body language, crossed arms versus open arms or arms around their shoulder or leaning forward rather than leading away. Smile. That helps, if it's appropriate. If they're telling you something horrible, don't be like, "Geez,
my boyfriend just broke up with me," and I'm smiling.
Yeah, no.
Because that loser's gone.
Yeah. But engage emotionally. Don't just check the boxes, right? Okay, I'm looking at them. My phone is down. Blah, blah, blah. No, we're not just checking boxes here. We're engaging emotionally. And then asking follow-up questions. Doesn't that make you feel so good in a conversation? When someone listens to what you say, and then they're like, "Really? What was that like?" Or whatever. It just is like, "Oh, wow, they really want to hear. This is awesome." But what you're doing here is you're creating a pattern. You're creating a pattern for how you will react the next time that they talk to you or open up. Not overreacting. Remember, resist the urge to gasp.
Yeah.
Man, when someone tells you something and they go, you're like, "Oh.
Was I not supposed to say that? Is that weird?"
Yeah. Resist the urge to roll your eyes. Resist the urge to say these words, "I told you so," or "I knew that was going to happen." Resist the urge to say, "Seriously?" Maybe there's things that you're like, "Oh, seriously? Do I have to listen to this again?" Resist the urge to say, "You know better." Resist the urge to say, "Duh." Whatever it may be. These are reactions that you don't want to give because you're not going to be approachable, right? So resist all of those things and engage. Be emotionally engaged.
Well, and I like how you say resist the urge, because some of the things we do, it's literally just a pattern that we have in our life that we have created that we don't necessarily think about. Like when I'm sitting and having a conversation, I literally did it while we were just talking. Like I cross my arms. Like right now, I'm not upset. I am totally engaged in what we're doing, what we're talking about, the conversation we're having together. It's just comfortable. And so, those are things you have to think about. So often when I'm having a conversation with somebody and I feel myself cross my arms, I'm not weird about it, but I'll wait a second and then I'll uncross my arms and just set my hands on my legs or something. And so you may roll your eyes without even realizing how often you're rolling your eyes.
Yes, I know I do it. Mm-hmm.
And so it is hard to resist that urge. It's hard to change those patterns of how we just naturally and comfortably have conversations with people. And so you also want to create an open and safe channel of communication for your child. That really is the point of all of this.
Yeah.
So if you follow those guidelines in every interaction with your child, no matter how small, your children will most likely feel safe approaching and discussing difficult and or embarrassing issues like sex, drug, and alcohol usage, peer pressure, or relationship issues. Mm-hmm. Now, I think for some of us, we've got to understand that some of our kids, we're just not going to be the one that they come to. So like, for instance, I have 4 daughters. My daughters I'm not the one they're going to come up and just have a sex conversation with.
No, they do that. They come up to me for that.
So they come up to mom typically, and then depending on the conversation, mom will say, okay, let's talk to dad. Let's talk with dad about this.
Yeah. And they're always okay with that. They always are like, okay, but they don't want to start the conversation with dad. And that has to do with male, female. It's not about you being unapproachable.
Right. Or it may just be that, it may be the exact opposite, where it's like, okay, for whatever reason, this child clicks more with mom or dad. And so they're a little more comfortable approaching mom or dad first. And so just don't take offense to that. Sometimes it's literally not about you. Mm-hmm. It's not about anything you're doing. It's just they feel more comfortable going to one parent first versus the other.
I like what you said about no matter how small your child is too, because we started this when they were little. So if your kids are little, understand that like the reason our teenagers talk to us right now is because we did this when they were little. Not about sex, not about drugs, right? But about everything, like whatever was happening in their life. We were engaged and talked to them, and we had the open lines of communication about everything the whole way. And now that's just continued. So the approachability thing starts when they are little. So understand that like now is the time. Now is the time to do that. And
a lot of these conversations we have on a regular. So when something happens in our life, we use it as an opportunity to have a conversation.
Exactly.
And so whether it's something happens and we have a conversation about sex, or something happens on TV or a movie or something, hey, we talk about drugs and alcohol. We talk about peer pressure or relationships or whatever else. We're not just having, it's not like we never talk about these things, and it just happens every once in a while in the moment when they absolutely need to talk about it. We're creating avenues to have these conversations, so it feels like a regular thing.
Yeah.
Like it's not weird to talk about peer pressure and those sorts of things because we have these conversations regularly. It's not weird for our kids to talk about alcohol with us because we use everyday life and situations to have these conversations.
Yeah. Another way to change their perception of you is to not be afraid to say, I don't know, when they ask you questions and things. Yeah. If you really don't know, just say, I don't know. And show them that you're going to be the kind of person and the kind of parent who will get the information for them and help them find the information, whatever it might be. Be a reliable source of information by looking up for them or navigating this situation together, and always follow up promptly after a conversation to tell your child, hey, your concerns are important to me.
Yeah.
I care about this thing. Even though I don't know the answer, I'm going to get the answer for you. We're going to find it together, and I'm going to show you how to get to that answer.
Yeah. That's really good. And it's hard for some people. It's hard for some people to admit they don't know things. They think it lowers, their value and their authority in people's eyes, and it does the exact opposite. It makes you trustworthy.
Yeah.
And that kind of leads me into this next thing, and that is to be honest and direct based on their age.
Yes.
So I think sometimes we worry about giving our children information that they're not old enough to process. I think for the most part, we don't have to worry about that. You can pray about it, talk to your spouse about it, and then just trust your God-given instinct. No one knows your child like you do. So no matter what anybody else is saying, like, all right, this is the time I need to have this conversation with my child. Now, here's one piece of advice I will give you, and that is if they're hearing about it from their peers, it needs to be addressed. So if they're in a situation where their peers are already talking about sex, but you've not had the sex conversation with them, it's a little late to have that conversation. You need to have it ASAP. If their peers are talking about drugs and alcohol and you've never really sat down and talked about that with them, it's a conversation you need to have about whatever it is. So there's so many important topics and issues in our world and culture today that it's sometimes hard. How do I know when to talk to my child about gender identity? Like, that's not even a conversation I even thought about having with my parents.
No.
But it's an issue in our world today. So when's the right time? I don't know. Well, when are they most likely to hear about it from the people in their life? I want to be the one to initiate that conversation. And so it's tough. I know sometimes we do question whether, am I going to give them too much information?
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Take time to explain the why. We talk about this all the time on our podcast. They have to know the why. So share your values and morals that guide your advice and that get to the point of your decision making. And we talked about, like, it's unapproachable when you give one-word answers, quick answers, short answers. But when you give an answer and then you go into the why behind it, you are creating an approachable perception.
Well, and this is something that used to happen in our background, our religious background. You kind of ask a question and not to like question authority or anything, but literally to get the information. Get information. Like, I want to know.
Understand.
And a lot of times the answer would be, well, that's what the Bible says, or just read your Bible or something like that.
Or because I said so even.
And not really giving people. And so when we give answers like that, hey, because Dad said so, like, that lets my child know I'm not approachable.
Exactly. Like,
he's not interested in answering my questions or helping me with this issue. And so I love this idea of making sure we're giving the why behind it.
Yeah.
And when I give my kids, I want them to get the why from me, not from somebody else.
Exactly.
So when I give the why, that lets them know I am approachable.
Yeah. And the ultimate goal is for your child to be able to reason through difficult challenges by using the values and lessons that you've instilled as them. Those are their building blocks to become healthy and responsible when they make decisions when you're not around. When they do get out on their own. So all of that has to happen. And like I said, we're not just talking about kids trying to decide if they're going to have sex before their marriage or if they're going to engage in drugs and alcohol. But I'm talking about when they're little kids and they have to share, and you need to explain why they have to share. Or if they're little kids and you have to tell them, we can't play with that little buddy anymore because he is not kind and you're acting like him when you leave. So you have to explain all of that. You have to explain the why. So this is not talking about teenagers. This is talking about little kids too. So put it in your context and the age of your children, but always explain the why.
And it's so important when they're young. That's where it all starts. You're already building these habits when they're toddlers. And it's about how approachable we appear early on in our parenting relationship. The younger a child is, the less they pay attention to what and how we say things. Right? It's just about being there. and about letting them talk and share and ask questions. They genuinely just want to talk and be with us. And sometimes I miss those days.
Me too.
But in order to keep this lovely oversharing going strong into the teen years and beyond, we need to start preparing now. And so from the earliest age of your child walking around and talking, that's when you start this. You start laying the groundwork of approachability with your child when they're young. The old attitude of children should be seen and not heard, like that's gone. If you want your child to approach you throughout their lives, we need to help them to understand that you are seen and you are heard.
Yeah.
And so even when they're young, you say, well, maybe I didn't do a great job when they were younger, and they are teenagers now. What do I do? Well, you just start now.
Start now.
And one of the things I always say for parents to do is you start by just apologizing. Listen, I have not been approachable. I have not seemed interested, and maybe I've not been interested in what's going on in your life. And you start with an apology, and that is fertile soil. That creates fertile soil to build off of that relationship with. And so pretending like you've always been a great parent when you haven't, that doesn't help a situation. They look at that as kind of hypocritical. But when you come at it as saying, you know what, I'm sorry. I have been working late. I have been interested in what's just going on in my life, not really what's going on in your life. I'm sorry. And so you see how that will help to change their disposition. And then you can build off from there. But getting that foundation of first owning it, you own the mistake, and then you can work from there. And so family meeting tonight, here's what I want you to do. First of all, I want you to start with your spouse and just get some honest feedback. Because like I said at the beginning of this episode, we don't always fully comprehend how we come off to people. And so you talk to your spouse, they'll be more than happy to let you fill you in on how approachable you really are. And that's the question is, hey, how approachable do you think I am? And I like to do a scale of 1 to 10 just to give me an idea. 1 to 10, how approachable am I? 1 meaning I don't want to talk to you or anybody else at all. 10 being totally approachable. Come to you at any time with anything. And then hearing what they have to say. And really listening to what they have to say. And then depending on how old my kids are, now if they're toddlers, I'm not having this conversation with my kids. It may be something along the lines of, hey, do you feel like you can talk to daddy about stuff? That may be the conversation I had. But if they're older, I'm having an approachable conversation. Like, hey, how comfortable are you coming to talk to me about, and then maybe name some of their hobbies and figuring out, okay, how I'm approachable. What about drugs and alcohol? How comfortable are you talking to me about that? And so just having this conversation and trying to gauge how approachable am I really as a parent? And then we can work on it and go from there.
Thanks for joining us today. Please go and subscribe to the Family Meeting Podcast from your favorite podcast provider. And if you found this information helpful, please share this episode on social media and invite your friends and family to listen in with you.
To find more content and information Lysandra and I provide, you can go to our website, familymeeting.org, or email us at info@familymeeting.org. If you'd like to shoot us a text or call us, you can send a voice message at 904-257-3062.
And we want to invite you to join us for our next family meeting as we talk about kind of more of our marriages. We're going to focus a little bit on marriage next week, and we are going to talk about personal growth. You and your spouse are both growing. How can you make sure that you're growing together, not apart?
Thanks for joining us today for this family meeting. Have a great week, everybody. This meeting is adjourned. Listen, we want your feedback. We want your comments. How approachable are we as your hosts? Do you feel comfortable talking to us right now? How do you feel? Am I approachable?
Am I? I think
You're
I'm scaring
scary the
people.
other way. We're like opposite ends of the spectrum. They're like,
Yes.
she is way too excited and he is way too angry.
But maybe between the two of us, people will relate to one of us and will make anybody feel comfortable.
There we go. That's the goal.
Yeah, but let us know. What do you think? Are we approachable, and are you? How do you feel like you've been perceived?
All right. Have a great week. We'll see you.